certainly enjoyed the program this evening. I like the last group. They are very creative. You know, a story was told of a farmer who hired a group of indigenous people and to work on his rice farm. And then they came early in the morning, and they're still sitting there in the wooden bench. The farmer said, "What's wrong?" The leader of the group said, "Empty sack cannot stand." So he asked his helpers to prepare a food for them. So they were fed. And then after a while, they just remained standing. And the farmer said, "What's wrong?" Then the leader again said, "Full sack cannot bend." I hope you remain seated even your sacks are full this evening. The Adventist Church is so much blessed with faithful and dedicated businessmen and professionals with a heart of mission. And that is the Southern Asia Pacific Division Adventist Laymen Services and Industries. And I believe with all my heart that with their full support, our church has nothing to fear for the future, because this church will never run out of resources, and that means proportional growth, especially of production or profit and or large market position. Who has now the courage to disagree the relevance of this topic in today's business environment? Because our president of ASI said that businesses are down and becoming more challenging. And it is my honor to introduce to you the equally qualified and able and handsome gentleman who was chosen to present this topic tonight, Mr. Albright D. He is the youngest of the three sons of our beautiful incoming president, Ma'am Joyce D. I'm telling her, if you have a good produce, you have to produce more. And she only produced 3. And I would say that Albright is the upgrade version of his late father, Pastor Albert D. He is one of the top soul winner of Central Luzon Conference. Albright is, as written in our program, is another wizard in the marketing world. Albright D is the veteran in developing, implementing, and executing strategic marketing plans that attract potential customers and retain existing ones. For the last 2 years and 3 months, Albright has been a product of marketing manager at Signify, which is multinational lighting corporation. Prior to this, he has worked at Traveloka, FedEx, First Pelec, and other companies where he developed his skills in analyzing data, managing projects, forecasting sales, etc. He finished his Bachelor of Humanities with a specialization in management and Master of Science in Management in the University of Asia and the Pacific School of Management. He finished Master of Laws in International Relations in Xiamen University, People's Republic of China. Albright earned certifications including Disruptive Strategy from Harvard Business School, Financial Accounting and Capital Markets from the University of Cambridge, Leadership and Communication from Harvard University. This is just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together and welcome Mr. Albright D. And I would like to call our ASI President, Mr. Rickson. Welcome, Albright. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Mr. Albright D.
Hello, everyone. Hello. So, forget about the introduction. You know, it's pretty long. It's not really relevant. So I'll just give some brief points. So first is I've been into marketing for like in anything that I'm going to say, all right, just to set the tone correctly, we're all learning continuously. So we learn every single day as we proceed with our daily lives. So now I've been requested to present about scaling up. Our beloved audience. It's a two-way learning experience because you get to understand or learn something from me, and your mere presence as business people, entrepreneurs, trailblazers, coming from different sectors, being successful yourselves in your businesses, is already an honor for me to be here. Now, I'll be trying to cover in the best manner that I can the elements of scaling up. All right, so we've heard about scaling up. The entire theme of today's, this week's program is on scaling up. But what is it really about? We'll try to understand it in the simplest possible way and how it could apply to your individual businesses, and most importantly, how it applies to our continued furtherance of Christ's Great Commission. So everything that I'll be sharing could apply to your individual lives, could apply to your businesses, as well as in the mission of saving souls. After all, the greatest scale up, if you could remember, was or has been Christianity. From one person, a pocket of disciples, it has really increased in multitudes, as we can see right now in the entire world. Okay, so what is scaling up? We've heard about it. Your businesses might have scaled up. You just don't know. Is it something new? Is it something novel? So to be honest, no, it's not. The jargon has just been used in the past few years, even decades. So these are the illustrations that I'd be using to help you quickly understand and identify to the meaning of scaling or scaling up. Okay. Anyway, you see the numbers, right? What we could see are ratios. We're all familiar with ratios. 1:10, 1:3, 1:2. Then these are fractions and percentages. Where do we see this? Discounts, yes, 10%. And the 1:1 ratio, the 1:10 or 1:10, we see these in scale models. So what are scale models? Toy cars, airplanes, boats, action figures that you collect. It's a scale model, meaning it's a fraction of the size of the original object that is trying to replicate. So sometimes you toy cars where it says 1:20, 1:12, action figures. For those who collect, or even toy guns, pistols, there's a ratio for it, meaning it's simply a representation of the other objects, of the original object's real size or dimensions. It's a miniature, smaller scale. Now, if you do the inverse, 10:1, if you had the fraction making the lower number much higher, right? Number below the lower higher, the inverse is the lower number becomes smaller. So you have 10:1, or you have 1,000%. So by just doing the inverse, from 1:10 is 10%, 10:1 is 1,000%, then that shows what it means to scale up as opposed to scale down. All right? So scale up means increasing and exponentially growing something from its standard state. Another illustration is x raised to n. We all know this, right? So 2 raised to 2 is 4. 4 raised to 2 is 16. It's not 4 times 2, right? So meaning is you have to grow in multiples of your original size. Something closer to home. If you happen to lead a soul to Christ, then you have a multiple of 2. If each of those newly baptized, say 2, will convert somebody to 2 more souls, then they have grown 4 to 8 times. So that is where you could apply it in our continuous mission to bring souls to Christ. So hope this is clear. So when you hear scale up, just imagine your toy car, your toy airplane or boat. It's a scaled down representation. Now magnify it the opposite way and you have a scale up. Okay? Hope that's clear. Now, forgive me for the long sentences, right? But this is what scaling up is in terms of its definition, as you can find nearly everywhere. So these aren't my concepts. I've borrowed it, I've adopted it from a number of sources. But what does it mean to your business? Okay? So these are the critical points. It's a small business, it's a shop, it's an enterprise. This is how scale up could apply to you. Number 1, there's 20% average annualized growth rate in a span of 3 years. Why 3 years, right? Because on the 4th year, it's like you double your revenues. You try to compute 1 times 1.2, then convert it to 3 years, year on year. On the 4th year, you have doubled the original size of your revenue. This definition comes from OECD, so it's from Europe, right? Next is you have 10 or more employees, or you're growing your headcount 20% on average year on year for 3 years. Okay? Scale-ups or scaling up companies are also called high growth or gazelles because they could quickly jump from one state or from one area to another. What does it mean? If you could see this chart, right? It shows a difference between your business growing organically or having tremendous growth versus scaling up or having exponential growth. Usually when you target growth, right, you also increase your cost and expenses. It may not be 1:1, but it's considerable that as you grow your revenues, as you increase your reach and customers, you have to invest in your infrastructure, in people, in your products, also commensurately. However, when you scale up, you have reached that level of optimization wherein your costs, your expenses is considerably lower than the target revenues or the realized profits. So what does it mean? So again, I'm adopting this. It means 70% gross and 20% net. All right? And it also applies to the rule of 40. Year on year for the past 3 years, it means that the sum of your revenue growth, sales, your top line, the growth rate plus the net profit margin or your bottom line, if you combine it, it's 40% or higher. All right? You could grow revenues 40%, zero net profit, it's cool. Zero revenues, 40% profit, for as long as the sum at least reaches a total of 40% or higher. So that is when you could consider your company exponentially growing. In some companies, the benchmark is £1 million, 1 million euros, or $1 million. So 50 million at least. Okay? Main takeaways here for businesses, right? The value of $1 million, pounds, or euros might be too much for some, given the Southeast Asian or Philippine context. However, if you look at the growth rate, 20% year on year. So you have a CAGR roughly of 20% for 3 years. That is a bit more feasible, if not possible for most of us, right? But this increase, 20% year on year, should not also increase your expenses commensurately. But it should be a fraction. Take, for example, if you're in 10 million, regardless of what currency, and then your net profit or your bottom line becomes 20, 30%, your cost is, let's say, 15%. You either maintain the ratio or the absolute number. Yet your revenue is still growing together with your net profit. If you have that on average 20% or more the better, year on year for 3 years, then you could be considered that your company is scaling up. All right? That's just on the financials or on the numbers. Okay? So you forget anything that I say, just remember 20% top line year on year. That's number one. And second is your top line and your bottom line, you combine the growth, it's 40%. That's it. Okay? Now this is rather long anyway, so I'll just do a quick summary on this. So you're wondering, so what's the difference between my business, which I've owned for X number of years, versus a startup, versus something that they now call a scale-up? What's the difference? So I tried to break down the different elements. Okay? So number one, the reason to exist, or the rationale. Why do we have a business to begin with? Usually people have a business which is considered, in terms of classification, as an SME, small medium enterprise, because it's the source of livelihood. So it applies for everyone. Livelihood means profit, net profit. It doesn't matter how much we spend, for as long as at the end of each month, each year, we end positive. That is net of all our expenses, etc. Okay? Now startup, which we hear a lot of times, is about innovation. It's about a new product that must be pushed to the market, however, whatever it takes. Right? Now a scale-up is like your small businesses. It's like a mature startup, but its goal is to replicate itself. Okay? It's to replicate its operations, to replicate its capacity, to grow 2, 3, 4x. Okay? Scale up has an X in the growth, not a 1 point plus. Okay? So it's either you grow 200, 300, or 400 times. Second area is ambition. So this is actually the core element of any company or any enterprise that would like to scale up. It's the ambition. Okay? First is, for startups, right, it's the proof of concept. It works, it's effective. For businesses, it's the cash flow. Positive cash flow, good turnover, minimal inventory. At the end of the day, net profit. However, for a scale-up, it comes into 3 dimensions. First, the product or the solution you have is effective, meaning it works. Second is, it's efficient. I could replicate it more times, and by being able to replicate it a lot of times, I could increase the reach and expand it. Take, for example, if you have medicine. It could cure all diseases, hypothetically. Now it takes you 1 year to manufacture that. And could you come up with a second bottle with the same level of efficacy? The bottle alone shows that your product works, so it's effective. Now if you duplicate it, 3, 4 bottles, then that is efficiency. Now you've increased that manufacturing or production efficiency to reach more people, more customers, then that is your expansion. Then you're now in the level of scaling up your enterprise. Third area, startups always are in the realm of technology. Why technology? Initially, technology is free. There is no hard assets, nothing to depreciate. All you need is your brain, passion, sleepless nights, a good idea, and you wait for somebody to buy that idea or invest in that idea. SMEs focuses on actual products and services, usually on the production line. Things being manufactured, traded, sold in a physical representation. Now scale up, good news, it applies to anything. See, it could be your fans, electric fans, juices, fruits, vegetables. It could apply to anything, right? Next is on customers, right? Customers. Startups are all about acquiring new customers, even at a cost. So my goal is to reach 1 million customers, even if I'm bleeding. So negative profit is fine. Because what the goal is mind share, they use the product, they get to experience it. If they're happy with it, the hope is for them to buy continuously. SMEs, or our businesses, in most cases, have an installed base, a loyal customer base. Say, we're already good. We're alive in a year, 3 years with 5 customers. Key accounts, that's it. Sometimes SMEs don't want to grow. They're happy with 10 customers, 20 customers. It's enough for us. And then something strikes, like a pandemic or etc. Then if they lose customers, then somehow the means of livelihood is affected. On scale up, it's about sustainability. So you're looking at number of customers, which is startup's idea or focus, and the installed base. So you're continuously increasing the size and reach of your customers, as well as ensuring that they have good customer life cycle value, meaning they're loyal customers and their average purchase per frequency increases. So for example, if I'm a loyal customer, I'll buy $1 worth of your product. I buy every month. That could form under SME, okay? Oh, I have a loyal customer, $1 every month, $12 a year. I could expect the same amount year on year. Startup is, oh, I want 10 customers even if they pay 25 cents. I burn money, true, but I gain more eyeballs, more people using it. Now for scaling up, it's about, oh, from that customer which purchases $1 every month, I want to increase the potential capacity. Why don't he buy from me $2 worth? Or and increase the frequency 3 times. So there's a balance.